Real-time strategy makes an explosive return to the Halo universe in Halo Wars 2. Leads Spartans, Warthogs, and other classic Halo fighting forces in a brutal war against a terrifying new enemy on the biggest Halo battlefield ever. Exotic Grunt Gaming here. Darth Ben 60 is going to be reviewing Halo Wars 2. So, to start it off, what are some general thoughts on the game?
Alright, so Halo Wars 2 is a Halo game that I've been waiting for a long time. Not to say that it doesn't have its shortcomings, but it does what the original Halo Wars did 7 years ago, and that is prove that Halo has the ability to break away from just first-person shooters. The Halo series in general lends itself well to the RTS genre, having so many different, units on the ground, so many different vehicles and things like that. Playing through the campaign was a blast. While no mission was something I haven't done before in an RTS game, I thought playing through was a lot of fun. Um, each campaign mission was kind of short, so like the overall campaign was short, but I thought the campaign storytelling was good and the cinematics were awesome. The problem I have with the campaign is that it ends on a very emotional high and a logical ending to the story, but there's an obvious setup for DLC coming later. And while RTSs kind of do this a lot, like StarCraft 2 had its story over three whole campaigns, three whole games, it is kind of upsetting that you know that the story isn't really finished when you finish the game. Um, as far as multiplayer is concerned, multiplayer is a lot of fun for like a quick fix. It's not as complex as other RTSs. And really, my biggest concern with multiplayer is that there's a lot of lag and connection issues.
Mm-hmm.
And even after the update, there still is.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun to play, though, and I have a blast playing it. And as far as Blitz goes, same goes for that. It's simple, it's fun. Um, Definitely meant for, when you only have 10 minutes, but you want to play an RTS game.
Yeah. And I've played this game not as much as you have, but with you, and have played some of the multiplayer. And so I know you kind of touched upon this,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people, especially with some of the initial reviews, were giving Halo Wars 2 a hard time because it's a very simple RTS,
Yeah.
and not very complex. And a lot of people may be predisposed to something like StarCraft 2, which is on the other end of the spectrum. But
Yeah.
I kind of just wanted to ask what your general thoughts were on that specific topic of it being, a more simple RTS.
I like the fact that it's a simple RTS. You have to think about who they're trying to get with this game,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to reach both Halo fans and RTS fans.
Yep.
Halo fans, obviously, almost every other game except the original Halo Wars is a shooter. So you're trying to reach people who majority play shooters. And I think the best way to do that is to have more of a less in-depth RTS. And you also have to think about the medium they have to work with. With consoles,
Mm-hmm.
you have a controller pad. You don't have the huge amount of keys with the keyboard. Makes it harder to control your units. But I think they did a good job with the controls. Not saying that's bad. I think they did as good as you can on the consoles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree 100% with that because, if they were trying to make an RTS that was as complicated as StarCraft 2, they're competing against a game that has been out for many, many years
And has a
and has a
huge
huge
following.
following and would not pull anybody from that community into their game. That wouldn't happen because StarCraft 2 is already established, and it might be declining right now, but is still established as the most competitive RTS in the world. So why would Halo Wars 2 try and just step in and compete with that while released both on PC and console, but mainly console? Not a lot of people are playing on PC.
Yeah.
So I agree 100%. They met the audience that they wanted to, and I do agree that I think they did a good job, and you brought this up in your initial general thoughts of delivering a Halo game in a completely different genre of gaming
than it's used to.
than it's used to, almost on the opposite spectrum. And I think they do a fantastic job with it. And yeah, I think that it's very interesting to see the Halo world and the world of Halo and its universe telling a story in a completely different way. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. But you also mentioned, and we can kind of get more into the multiplayer of it. But you mentioned some connection and lag issues, and that's also something I have experienced, and from my own experience when I went to get on and play, and the first match that I went to search for, somebody left, and I won the match within a minute. The next game I went into, I got kicked within a minute, and so I never actually really got to play a full match.
Yeah.
So what are or do you have any specific experiences with something similar like that?
It's very common, and that's why it's worth being brought up, because it's not. I had one day. I'm not sure if they just had service issues in general that day, or if I just got really unfortunate. But I played, I think, 6 one-on-one matches straight where I lagged out.
Yeah.
And by lagging out, I mean I couldn't move anything on the screen. Like, I could tell the game was still going, because it was like 5 frames a minute. Like, a frame would go, but every like 10 seconds. And it was just a bad connection. And then like the next one, I would get kicked. And I could just, like, 6 games in a row that I lost due to these issues. So they are very common. I've had where I played like the team war. I've had my teammates drop out. I believe they dropped out because they looked like they were playing and they were doing well. That all of a sudden they just stopped.
Yeah, they left.
Same has happened to me. So it's really common, and it's been, I don't know, 4 or 5 days since I've played now. So they might have fixed some of those issues by then, but I highly doubt it. And it's just something that really drags down what I think otherwise is a very fun multiplayer experience.
Yeah, and continuing on with that multiplayer experience, this is something that's new not only to the Halo Wars series, but also RTSs in general, at least to my knowledge, is Blitz mode.
Yeah.
And I think this is a fantastic installment and a continuation. It introduces what Blitz mode is to Halo Wars 2 is what Warzone was to Halo 5, where it's a game mode where there is kind of a microtransaction economy involved in it, but it's not something that's forced into the game itself, requiring you to purchase things. Like, you're not forced to purchase Blitz packs, because if you don't want to pay for those, or if you don't want to play Blitz, you still have those original arena modes to play. But like you said, Blitz is that 10-minute quick fix if you have time, and you can earn packs through leveling up through campaign and stuff like that. So, I'm curious to see if you think Blitz is something that will be around for a while, if it may be installed in other RTS games that come out or in future Halo Wars games, and if you think this is a good continuation of kind of that microtransaction thing that Microsoft Studios has been doing with their games recently, like Gears and Halo.
All right. So I'll answer the microtransaction thing, and I think they handled it just as well as they did in Halo 5, because I have never went into a match thinking this guy is going to have better cards than me, or have played a match where at the end I was like, oh, this guy just had better cards than me, that's why he won.
Yeah.
I think I earned all the cards within my first, like 20 levels. So I think they do a good job of giving you out. And then they level up depending on how much you get that card. But I've never felt like, oh, this guy had way better cards than me, I got crushed. So I think that it is a good way to continue that microtransaction. Something like that, like Warzone, where this guy might have bought 3 packs, so he got this, the truth, the saw that's really good.
Yeah.
But, it didn't change the game, and it stays away from the arena area, keeping that very pure.
Yeah.
Um, I do think it's something you could see in other RTS games in the future. I think they'll implement it differently. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think maybe they won't go with a card system or
Or
they won't go with the
microtransactions. Yeah.
microtransactions, but I can definitely see people trying to bring this in just because it is sort of that quick fix.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll ever be as
The
big.
competitive. Yeah.
It will never be competitive,
Yeah.
and I don't think it'll quite be as big. But if they do make a Halo Wars 3, what I hope they do, at some point, I definitely see it making a return. I think
Okay.
it's a good addition to the Halo Wars formula.
Absolutely.
And it excels when you bring it into Firefight. I think it's really fun in Firefight.
Yeah. Absolutely. And personally, I have not finished the campaign yet. I've played a couple missions. The thing I can add to that is to reinforce your statement on the cinematics. It's absolutely amazing. The CGI that they have is like phenomenal and adds to the story so much, and it adds a new perspective of the storytelling in a Halo series that is typically told through first person shooters. So to see it through a RTS game is really really awesome, and I think the cutscenes are phenomenal. But in terms of campaign experience, that's kind of been the extent of that for me.
Mm-hmm.
And but I feel as though, in RTS games, the strength of those games really lies within that multiplayer community
Yeah.
and the multiplayer experience, which is why I think we focus more on that. But I don't personally have any other comments about the game or questions. So I mean, if you have any closing thoughts on the game yourself, and what kind of score you would give it.
Okay. So, Halo Wars 2 is definitely a game I'd recommend to anyone looking to get into the real-time strategy genre. Should definitely buy it. It's definitely a good gateway into the game, and it'll definitely help you step into, especially if you want to play the more competitive ones, it'll definitely help you step into that. I'd recommend it to Halo fans if you want to get more Halo story. And honestly, if you just kind of want to enjoy a good campaign, it's good, it's fun. And multiplayer is, while not as competitive as StarCraft, I have a lot of fun playing it.
When it works.
When it works. When it works. With all that said, for my final score, I'm going to give Halo Wars 2 a 9.0 flat. I think it's very fun to play. When the multiplayer is working, it's great. The campaign's awesome. Blitz is a fun addition. And I think I got my money's worth, and it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right, well, you heard it here. Exotic Grunt Gaming. Stay tuned to the channel for more reviews, gameplay videos, streams, and whatnot. Thanks for tuning in.